Welcome all to the Tales of Tyria. Welcome all to the Tales of Tyria.
This week on Tales of Tyria, we discuss the end. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the last Tales of Tyria episode. So join us while we reminisce and talk Guild Wars 2 for the final time. Yes, welcome one, welcome all, welcome to another exciting episode of Tales of Tyria, right here on the Sound Strategy Network in association with the Team Legacy community. We're going to explain everything that's going on here. Let me first introduce myself and who's with me here. I am Bridger, and joining me, well, we've got a lot of people here. Let's switch on over. We've got a whole bunch of people, including Freelancers, finally back on the show. Welcome, sir. Oh.
So,
there we go. We've also got Professor.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Now it's my
Okay.
fault. My fault. My fault. I'm just,
Your fault.
It's a last show, so I have to screw up for the last time, right? That means there can be no further screw ups. That's an exciting prospect, really. I can't wear a green shirt, Edwin. It wouldn't work. Also joining us, Professor Enzo. Welcome, sir.
Good to be here.
Yes, good to see you. And Yannick Siak back again. Hello, hello.
Hello.
And Bullet also joining us here. A bunch of the new hosts that have been on for the last couple of weeks when we didn't have a Guardian episode in the middle there. And thanks all you guys for joining us again. So what's going on here? Well, first of all, the show is going to be the last day, the last episode of Tales of Tyria. Why? Well, to put it quite simply, I forgot to move the birds out. But that has nothing to do with it. Really, what it has to do with is, I told you, we were talking about this before the show, that they would lull me into a false sense of security, and I would forget to move them out of the room to provide that nice professional experience.
I just need to get Overseer Cat to show up, and we'll have a complete show,
Yeah,
right?
as long, okay, it's the last show that you get to be on too then. Damn it. So, anyway.
It's immersion, because I'm sure there's birds in Lion's Arch somewhere,
Well,
so it's just
yeah.
all part of the... It's all part of it.
When they're not here, they're delivering messages to people in ore. Underwater, in dungeons, doesn't matter. They're there. So, anyway, the main reason why is this the last show? Well, I'm not feeling Guild Wars 2 as much anymore. I'm just not playing it. I'm burnt out, I guess is the best phrase. Because, and that's the best phrase because people can burn out on any games. People can burn out on really, really good games. Even the best games, you can burn out on it if you play it a whole lot. And I am burnt out. And I think Freelancers burnt out, and a lot of people in Team Legacy are burnt out. We've been playing it like crazy for the last 6 months almost now, right?
Yep.
So when that happens and you put, hundreds or thousands of hours into a game, you're just going to run out of fun. And at the moment, we're hitting that wall with no fun, because of the pain. But, so that's really it. Freelancer, we're going to have a age competition later, /age competition. But
We actually did that last night.
We did.
Yeah.
And you'd win no matter what.
Yeah, all my characters, between all of them, it's quite a bit. But we'll go into that later.
Indeed. So
I'm thinking that Enzo maybe has more than me, but I don't know. We'll see.
So the main crux here is I like to produce this kind of content for things that I'm passionate about. And the reason for that is when I'm passionate about it, I spend a lot of time prepping because I'm crazy insane like that, and it makes for a better show. If I'm not passionate about something, I'll leave it at the last minute. I'll be like, whatever, and I don't want that to happen. I don't want the quality of Tales of Tyria to slowly decline into, something just like with freaking birds in the background.
I was going to say, yeah,
Dang
decline into a bird-filled podcast.
They just want to hear me talk. That's all it is. Or they're telling me to shut up so they can sleep. One or the other. I'll move them out of here in a second.
At least you haven't trained them to start squawking profanities.
That's true. That's true. So I'll move them out of here in a second. But the main crux here, like I said, is I don't want the show's quality to be ruined by the fact that I feel like I'm having to force myself to play a game I don't want to play because I want to play something else. So rather than have it go down that road, we're going to end it sort of on a high note, as it were, and continue with bird-laced profanity. Damn you! In many other forms. So before you're like, oh, turning off Bridger forever, don't worry about it. We've got a lot going. We're going to talk all about that in a second. But because this is still Tales of Tyria, and this is still a Guild Wars 2 show, even in the final episode, we're going to go to the news segment and talk about the patch. And we're going to do that so that I can go move the birds out of the room and you guys can hold down the fort. So let's talk about the new patch. Freelancer, I know that you played with the new patch and the culling yesterday. What was your impression?
I liked it. It was really good. The culling kind of was two-sided. We went out there, and now that there's a ranking system that's based off of kills and stuff, you see even larger Zergs than before, which was kind of depressing. But it was good. I mean, the fact that I could see the 80 nameplates that were rolling over my group was cool. Not exactly comforting, but cool. I think a lot of people enjoy the fact that they can now play the game and see enemies that are killing them. I mean, we all got tired of the invisible Zerg that would wipe us. So good stuff. Didn't really change anything in regards to the combat and a lot of the. Besides thieves, of course, but in terms of the culling, it definitely got fixed. I agree.
Yeah. What I don't know if we'll ever know an answer to this or not, but because I had the same experience where we went in and we would just see these oceans of names in some cases. But I guess what I'm wondering, and what I don't think we'll know, is are the Zergs actually bigger, or are we just seeing them now?
I think the mentality is that if let's put yourself in the average player's shoes, right? At heart, we're all completionists. Admit it. Okay, we all love ranking up. We love.
I don't deny that.
Okay, yeah, we all love that. How Bridger worded the dopamine of leveling up, and getting ranks up. So. The average player in World v. World previously was not able to see all the various enemies at a distance around him. Now, not only can you see the enemies, but you can see your friends. So the first thought that anybody's going to think about is, I need to group up with these people in order to kill more things and level up faster. So I think what this has done is formed Zergs to be, I dare say, more effective at what they do, which is just mass killing. And for the average player, that's what they want. They're not so much concerned that it's a Zerg or that it's their honor being, under attack because they're in a Zerg. They just want to level up. And I think that's what we're going to see more and more. And there's a couple Reddit threads where that people are noticing that.
I think also because of the new patch, everyone has come back to try World v. World. So I've definitely noticed our Zergs have been huge, and these huge 80v80 battles have been pretty epic. But maybe as weeks go on, because the combat has essentially stayed the same, the numbers might drop back down again. Although I don't know if they have increased the population limit on the maps. ArenaNet is always very cagey about admitting it, so I don't know if it's just more players allowed on the map or just more players interested in the game temporarily.
Well, I would sit on the side of the fence that says that this is a honeymoon phase, and once people realize that you're still doing the same thing to take down a door, or the combat and the flavor and what gets you excited is just the same old thing. Yes, now you can see enemies at a distance, but it doesn't change the fact that there's nothing you can do about mass Zergs, number one. And in the combat, and this is across the board, in any competitive guild will tell you this, that it is based on numbers. Either you get together with other friendly guilds and move around as a large blob, or you avoid the large blobs, and that's World v. World and Guild Wars 2, and they haven't done anything to fix that.
And that was fun, wasn't it? That was fun for a while.
It was, yeah. I mean, but then you start to break down, it's like, is this really feel like I'm being strategic if I run around with a 100-man group? And so many times we tried to kind of break the mold, and sometimes it worked, where we split apart in numerous 10-man groups, and this idea that with more smaller parties, a Sun Tzu thing, with multiple smaller flanks, we could somehow win the map. But the point is, the maps are so small that a large Zerg, no matter where your small party goes, a large Zerg will be able to cover that distance in, I mean, we all have different numbers, but we basically nailed it down to about 4 minutes. A large Zerg can get from any point on the map to anywhere else. And 4 minutes is more than enough to hit this small group, wipe them out, make them wish they never attacked, hit this group, and that's what it is. I blame it on the maps more than the design of World v. World. I think if all the maps were slightly bigger, or if they reduced the amount of speed buffs that a Zerg could possibly use, then we would be negating a lot of these problems.
Yeah, and that's actually one thing that was sort of suggested, like, what if the bigger the group, the slower they go? But people just find a way around that. I mean, the only real solution, like you said, is to make the maps larger, wider, longer treks, so that you have to actually make a hard decision when you decide where to go, because going here means you can't protect that. Right now, that decision isn't there. There's no opportunity cost to going to one particular area of the map at the expense of another, because you're going to just be able to get there in no time, exactly like you're saying.
I don't know about that, though, because if you make the maps too much bigger, I mean, people already complain about, oh, I died, now I gotta walk back to where the people are. I mean, if you make them too big, then people are just going to be like, well, there's no action because all I'm doing is running back because I just got rolled. So, I mean, it's a balancing act that I think really what they need to do is focus on the content of maybe figuring something out for smaller groups to do to give people an idea to, I don't know, split up into the smaller groups. I mean, the Zerg thing, especially now you can see everybody, is still an issue, but I don't know if there's really any good way to fix it, and I don't know if necessarily just making the maps bigger would solve very much.
A change in the maps would be better too, but you mentioned running back would get old, or one of the first episodes of Tales of Tyria, all the fans will remember, me and Bridger went at it for almost an hour straight talking about death penalties. What is the death penalty in Guild Wars 2?
It's armor repair, but
that's
not much of a penalty.
It's not anything. So the idea of running further, I mean, I know I'm in the minority saying this, but I would have been happy with just that, let alone having a heavier armor repair or something that encourages a Zerg to at least be more careful, or at least split up or something. For the longest time, through almost episode 20, well, actually all the way down to 10, we had said something about orange swords. Okay, and I had repeatedly preached about the fact that orange swords need to go away, or at the very least increase in number. Well, they finally did that, but then at the same time they roll out a patch that encourages larger Zergs, so you're going to have orange swords everywhere anyway. It just seems counterintuitive. It's a little depressing because a lot of the changes with combat that we wanted to see, and don't get me wrong, like I said in chat, we were that large Zerg. We tried the multi-pronged attack. A lot of guilds did, a lot of great tier 1 guilds did, and they still try it. But it all comes down to, as the second you do that Zerg is going to continually wipe each and every smaller group over and over. And then you got to ask yourself, am I having fun? Is it fun to roll around in a Zerg, which is the only way to win? Or is it fun to nightcap, which is the other way of winning, which we can get into a whole thing about that? Or is it fun to or avoid Zergs? I mean, that's what the three elements of World v. World is right now. Either you're nightcapping, you're running around in a Zerg, or you're avoiding Zergs. And that's, for many people, it's not Guild Wars 2 in general, at least with me it wasn't. I still play Guild Wars 2. I was logged in most of today. But the PvP in Guild Wars 2, and I'm not even going to go into structure PvP, the World v. World in Guild Wars 2 is going down the same path as structure PvP, where all of your main competitive guilds, which we won't mention names specifically, but you can see them. It's all over Reddit, all over Guru, have already packed their bags and left. They've given ArenaNet X amount of tries, and there comes a point when you have to say, I'm no longer going to be a fool to this, and start preparing for the next MMO, at least in hopes that they do it better.
Yeah,
because,
that's the main thing is, the game has to be fun when you're playing to win. I mean, tons of games can be fun when you're just messing around, like sandbox-wise, but if it's not fun when you're playing to win because the optimal way to play the game, it's not fun, and the way you want to play is not optimal, that's when you have a big problem with competitive communities. The other thing that came to mind there is something that was said in PlanetSide over and over again was, you'll either die a squatty or you'll live long enough to see yourself become the Zerg. And that was pretty much the same problem that they're dealing with there, is that, you know, people want to play in these really fun, like, mobile fights between 20 to 40 people, but what's really effective is grouping up in hundreds and just rolling over the smaller groups. Now, at least in PlanetSide, that sometimes turns into giant fights between the hundreds of players, and because the spaces are much wider apart than Guild Wars 2, you're not literally running over... Well, you can with a tank. But anyway, Enzo, you had a thought earlier.
Well, a couple of things. I agree that Zerging is not necessarily the most fun. I tend to avoid the massive large Zergs too, but I don't think that the small groups are necessarily just pointless. We will frequently work to avoid the Zerg, or we'll run up one side of the map and then port back and then jump around to the other side to take. And the point of World v World is to take points. So we're taking out the Doliacs, we're taking camps. We're going to try and blitz into a tower as fast as we can and claim it just before the tick. And then if you do have that problem of, well, there's just the big Zerg that's running around and rolling over everything, and it only takes 4 minutes to get from one side of the map to the other. Yes, but there are two other borderlands. And a lot of times we'll say, well, this one server Zerg is beating up or trying to roll us in our own borderlands. We'll take a group of 10 or 20 people, go over to their borderlands, and start taking things as quickly as we can. And that's been an effective strategy to cause panic on the other server. And they're, oh my God, we're losing our own borderlands. They're hitting our garrison, and they got through the outer walls. They're into the inner garrison while we're over here messing around trying to take one of their keeps. So, yes, the maps could be a little bigger, and you can get from one side of a map to another very quickly, but you can also use the other maps as a strategy to, again, the whole purpose is to score points. Let's go take their borderlands.
Yeah, I mean, the problem remains that on any given map, grouping up in the largest group possible is the most effective strategy. And people in the chat are like, they need to encourage people to get into smaller groups. And I mean, lots of people, we've talked about this 1,000 times, that brought up the little things like, let's give a buff when they're in smaller groups, or a nerf, you know, a debuff when they're in large groups. It needs to come down to, mechanically, it has to be more effective to be split up into smaller groups. And the only way that I can think of doing that is a larger map that forces enemies to watch what's going on in multiple areas. But there's probably other ways, I just can't think of them. Bullet, final thoughts on this topic here, and then we're going to move on to something else.
Make siege weapons siege weapons. Make
We've
your
said that before,
anti-personnel. Yeah. Make your anti-personnel weapons, your Aerocart, an actual anti-personnel weapon. That's what fixes a Zerg. Now, let's imagine Aerocarts properly lined up on a wall, okay? Somebody put the forethought into it, all right? So that's a valid strategy, and most people can figure that out. Whether they don't lay them towards the back of the wall or anything advanced, that's fine. Aerocarts on a wall. Now, you're a Zerg. You come up to this wall as a massive conglomerate of people that have no idea what they're doing. They're just following people. And you come up against Aerocarts. Now, you're going to get massacred if you just Zerg down the door like most Zergs do. And that encourages, what do you know, siege warfare, which isn't in the game right now, except by the top-tier guilds that go at each other. What you have by basically your lower-tier players, or players that are playing casually, or players that don't really want to take World v World that seriously, is they run around, they place a ram on the door, and that's the extent of attacking a keep. That's as far as they'll get. They're not going to lay trebuchets in special locations. They're not going to set up catapult teams to try to ninja down a wall. Most players, we like to think that we're the majority, but most players will not do that. They'll attack with a ram with as many players as possible. So you stop that by placing error cards. That forces players to think outside the box. Well, now as a giant Zerg, we have to think about laying trebuchet. We actually have to think about teamwork. We have to think about countering those arrow cards. And that's just not in the game right now. Right now, running around as a massive, large group is A-okay. There's nothing that'll stop you.
Yep, pretty much. All right, Bullet, bring us home. How's this all tie together?
Well, kind of what I'm thinking, from the grand scale, I haven't been, the hardcore, WoW guy like you guys have necessarily. A lot of my hours have been mostly in PvE. From a guy that does it on a, serious basis, but, I guess somewhat casually in the game. I don't know how you want to label it. The way I view it is this big system that I've played a lot of games. I've never seen a system like this before. This many people on the map accomplishing, this large of a goal, it going on constantly like this. I mean, it's essentially one gigantic multiplayer match going on for week-long intervals. And I think it's something that I've never been exposed to before Guild Wars came out. Now, I'm sure there's, influences somewhere else. But the way I see it, there was a lot of different aspects of WoW that were not, I guess, didn't necessarily work the best at launch. And a lot of people have had a lot of different opinions on it. And because there's so many different aspects of this feature of this game that, it's not balanced and the Zergs and so many things that you can't prepare for as a game developer. I think ArenaNet, is doing the best that they can. I think they're doing a great job at least listening to what their community's trying to say and changing something. The worst the worst part about a game that would not improve, I guess the worst thing about a bad game is that they don't improve or they don't change anything to it. And I think ArenaNet is doing a good job at least trying to make improvements. Maybe they don't work. Maybe they'll change them later. The great thing about an MMO is that it's not a constant thing. You can always patch things out later.
See,
Tell that to the structured PvP players.
Yeah,
man.
right. I have to say, though, I can't agree with you, Bullet, only because for all intents and purposes, World versus World, in all of its tactics and its actual mechanics, is identical to Beta Weekend Event number 1. The only exception is that orbs aren't there anymore, and the class balances are slightly different. They nerfed the siege weapons so that it didn't feel like they're useless almost now, in terms of you can't defend with smaller numbers anymore. But so it seems to me that it's gotten worse, honestly, from my point of view. But really, it hasn't changed at all in 6 months. Look at what they've done to the PvE environment. They added fractals and this whole new system of dungeons. We've seen brand new content on a brand new island. We've seen guild missions and PvE stuff. They are doing some crazy stuff there in the last 6 months. World versus World has been like they threw us a bone. Like, yeah, we've had some coding people working on culling anyway, so here, we'll throw that to you. And I think we maybe, did we get some coding people? Can we put them on there for 2 weeks and put together some kind of a tier system? And that'll do. So the things that came out in this patch feel to me like they threw a small team at this for a couple of months here, and that's it. This is not the majority of their resources. This is hardly any of their resources in comparison to the things that have been added to the game. And I'm not necessarily criticizing them because they're a company. The PvE side of the game is beautiful and fantastic, and they have a lot to be proud of there. And unfortunately, I think the World versus World team has been, sort of redirected to mostly other tasks, or the programming time that is needed to fix it is not there. I don't think that the World versus World team is happy the way that it is. If they play the game like we play the game, like the competitive teams play the game, or guilds play the game, they'll also know the issues that we're running into. I don't think they don't know those issues. I think that they just don't have the resources available to fix them, because the people upstairs said, this is where we have this many resources, we have to divide it, this is where we're going to focus, because that's what's important. So Anyway, I mean, we've gone around the world versus world thing a gazillion times before, so I don't want to run the entire show into world versus world, even though it's 7:44 and we kind of already did that. All right, so let's jump up to the next bit of news here. So Tales of Tyria is ending. I explained that. However, we are going to be continuing doing things for you. There's all kinds of other stuff from both Team Legacy and from myself that will be happening that you're probably going to want to take part in, including a brand new gaming show. It's going to be a general gaming show, very similar to what we're doing with Tales of Tyria, but instead of being focused on a single game, it will be focused on either a genre of games for one episode or a particular game that just came out, like, I don't know, BioShock Infinite just came out. Maybe in the first episode we'll have our thoughts on BioShock Infinite, how it compares to BioShock 1, whatever. That's just a thought popping in my head. Or maybe we'll talk about violence in video games, and we'll talk about the research and how that actually affects kids. Some things say this, some things say that, what's the controversy, etc. Or maybe we'll talk about, hardcore versus casual. We had sort of a Guild Wars 2 episode on that back when we had no Guild Wars 2 info for a while. So that was almost like a sort of precursor to what we're doing here. So that's the idea behind it. We'll talk about all kinds of different games, probably mostly PC games, but any console ports that come to PC, like Arkham Asylum, is freaking amazing. So is Arkham City. But we'll talk about all kinds of things like that on the general gaming show. It'll be me, probably Freelancer, and somebody else that I'm working on putting together the team. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And I hope you guys enjoy that. If you are interested at all in that, it will make it available in podcast form and YouTube, same way that Tales of Tyria was. You can find all the information on that available at sound-strategy.net. I will be uploading any new episodes there, and I will also be posting them, streaming them on Bridger 15 is where you're going to find all future streams from me, BRIDGER 15. On Twitch TV. So that's a place to go for that. Also, the Sound Strategy Network YouTube channel, I'll keep that updated with all the information as well. So if you're a subscriber there, that works too. So that is now out of the way. Also, at Team Legacy Net on Twitter helps out a lot, because we're going to tie that in so that whenever Team Legacy does streaming stuff for the community, whatever, we're going to have it tweet to there to let everybody know. So that's going to be a good time. We're getting a lot of future gaming events for the community, not just, because Team Legacy, I didn't mention this, I meant to mention this earlier, has actually retired from Guild Wars 2. As of Monday, I think, was it, Freelancer? We had that meeting.
As far as PvP is concerned, yeah.
As far as, as an organized world versus world entity, we just didn't have enough people in our guild that were still interested in playing it. They were all getting burnt out as well.
Funny thing is, now we got even more people from the community joining, trying to get that legendary before. so
there's still a good core of people that are playing.
Oh yeah, there's nothing wrong with Guild Wars 2. It's just the competitive scene is gone, and we go where the competition is.
So that's sort of finally sort of the straw that broke the camel's back. I'm like, well, I guess it's time to lay down the, I don't know, what is it I hold? The microphone? Sure. Like I said, the general gaming show is going to be on Sundays at 7 Eastern, same sort of time frame, and we're going to start it at April 7th, Sunday at 7 Eastern. I really hope you guys join us. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait to talk about something other than Guild Wars 2. That's not true. I love talking about Guild Wars 2 for the last couple of years with you guys and all the other hosts. It's been a fantastic ride. So let's see. The only other thing I want to mention before we go to talk more about Guild Wars 2 is that we have a Soldat community event coming up. Soldat is a fantastically fun 2D skill-based shooter with jetpacks and rocket launchers and chain guns and exploding pixelated body parts. It's fantastic. I cannot express how fun this is. You're just going to have to join us after the show tonight. We're going to play some. I'll stream it on Bridger 15 for you guys. You can check it out. We're going to invite all the Tales of Tyria hosts, everybody in chat that wants to come in. We'll do it till the server is full. And the event for our community, you guys are all invited as well, is Team Legacy's community event, Soldat, Saturday, this coming Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's the 30th. So that's going to be a whole lot of fun. Let's jump back into Guild Wars 2 here now. The meta moment is over. So let's talk about all the sort of the Guild Wars 2 memories. We've been talking about that here. Let's hear it. The age /age. What is your account's age, Enzo?
I actually was checking. I am just over 940 hours across all characters.
Yanix, what is your account's age?
Oh, I can't ask a girl her
Oh, I'm
age.
sorry.
No,
I'm
well,
sorry.
part-timer, I only have about 850, so not as much as I would like. If
All
only I
right.
were still a student, oh, I would spend all my time.
All right.
Those in chat, we want to hear your age too.
Yeah,
You can
everybody in chat.
type /age, I believe, in
The
chat,
next
right? In
person
the
that
game.
types over 9,000 is getting a kick ban.
Yeah.
I
I think
keyed
9,000 would be
that kid.
impossible, actually,
It
because
might-
the game hasn't been out that long. But
It might be. All right, Bullet. What's your character's count's age?
I'm around what it is. I'm in the nines, so
900s ish.
not sure. Yeah, 900-ish.
Yeah, I'm different.
Under a K.
I'm like 287 ish, something like that.
really, that's it, Bridger?
That's it. I
Oh,
kind of
man.
Out at
I thought you would be
270
way
hours?
more.
listen.
You-
I
you
don't
lightweight.
I don't like massively multiplayer online RPGs. Okay, I really don't
Yeah,
like
okay.
them. I stopped playing World of Warcraft at level 36. I never hit max level, and I said this is stupid. I came back and made it to level 54, and then said no, this is stupid. That was when the level cap was 70. Then I came back again when the level cap was 85, and I made it to 63 before I said this is stupid. I'm quitting again. So. And that's like the MMO. That was the first MMO that I played, and I could never even get to the level cap before I got bored. For Guild Wars 2 to hold me for 280 some odd hours is a feat beyond which I cannot imagine any other MMO doing that. PlanetSide 2 couldn't even do that, and I like first-person shooters. I mean, come on.
You started a whole nother podcast for that. I mean,
I did. So yeah, that's even though it doesn't sound like a lot, the thing is, it was a lot for me for an MMO.
Sure.
So that's all that there is to that. But let's move on before we ask Freelancer how much he overpowers us with his age. What is it? What's the number?
I cheat though. I have things that keep me online, but my main is 1,800 hours. So, but I have 3 accounts. I have my wife's account, which is always logged on, and if you count all those, I mean, you can't really count them at the same time because they all run synchronously. So, so we'll say 1,800.
There you go. That's close enough.
Now, is that all playtime, or is that like trading post stuff? and everything
does
too?
Trading Post count? I was gonna ask.
Majority of that is at the. Actually, now that sounds pretty bad. Probably at the trading post. But I mean, I am there. I'm just because the way my job works, I can have Guild Wars 2 on one monitor, and I'm doing trading post stuff throughout the day, and then I work on the other monitor. So I have that luxury. But yeah, I'm probably actually playing the game maybe 600, 700 hours, and 90% of that is World v World.
So if they had actually come out with the Trading Post mobile app,
I've never done any PvE. I'm Fractals level 2 and proud of it. I mean, I did structure PvP for a long time, but then we had our Team Legacy structure team. They kind of took over that, so I just did World v World and got to level 80, and I still never finished my personal story, and I should probably do that. But, yeah. Guild Wars 2 is amazing as far as PvE. It's just I'm a PvPer, and that's what I'll always be. So,
all right. So let's get to the next question. We just said that well, let me clarify. Freelancer and I are sort of done playing Guild Wars 2 competitively for the most part. Enzo, Yannick's, Bullet, I think we spoke earlier. You guys are still playing it, though, right, on a regular basis? You guys aren't really quitting because we got you. You're like the youngins. We picked you up in January or February, and you're like, yeah, we're still playing. What's wrong with you guys? You guys are all still playing, right?
yeah,
I'm
not
online
going
right
anywhere.
now.
And let me throw in, there is nothing wrong with Guild Wars 2 as far as PvE and stuff. It was an amazing game, right, Bridget? Honestly, it was.
Even World v World, if you're still enjoying World versus World, play the hell out of that thing. Nobody's criticizing you personally. Yeah. We're criticizing what it's all personal choice.
The biggest thing we told because not all TL are, we actually get a ton of people still playing. The biggest thing we told everybody that is still playing World v World, at least in our community, is support the server best you can. Whether you're wearing a TL tag, another tag, whatever you do, organize and carry that philosophy over, because the game's still alive. It's not like it's dying. I mean, who knows, a week or two from now, but it's still alive. People are still trying to play competitively, whether they just got the game at Christmas and they're still excited. It's still a great game. It's just for those that kind of played hardcore since the beginning, including the structure PvPers, I think most have kind of moved on, and that's sort of what we're doing as well.
Yep. All right, Enzo?
Well, I was just going to say, with the people still playing, and yeah, I'm still there, and I don't see myself going anywhere anytime soon. I was actually just approached by a group of people in my guild who wanted to get into World v World, that they had tried it much earlier, shortly after release, when all the levels were screwed up and people didn't know what they were doing, and they just got rolled all the time and hated it. Now they're like, okay, well, we got this new experience stuff. The battles have matured. Our server has matured a great deal since launch as far as World v World goes. And yeah, we're actually seeing a resurgence into World v World from people who had backed out of it. So, and no, we're not Team Legacy. We're not hardcore PvPers.
Well, we're not hardcore anymore either. So,
well, but
maybe a month ago, or
yeah, we never were though. So yeah, I think I don't see a demise of Guild Wars 2 or a falling apart of it.
Yeah, exactly. Bullet?
As I've said, I'm mostly a PvE guy. There's a lot of game left to play for me. I said, the age of my characters and account and stuff, and I haven't even finished my personal story yet either. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why I haven't done that, but I prided myself in Guild Wars 1. I had like over 3,500 hours, I think, and a lot of that was just hanging out and talking to people, not necessarily doing anything, kind of like freelancer, sitting in class and college and just chatting it up and stuff. But I mean, there's a lot of game here, and I think a lot of what I'm getting from this podcast, and I've never talked to freelancer before and stuff, and it's interesting getting his what his viewpoint is on a lot of this stuff. We're just different players, and I think Guild Wars 2 to a lot of people might be a PvE game, and there's a lot of PvE left out there for me to play, and that's why I'm still into it. And I think it's just different tastes. It's no different than being a Halo guy versus a Call of Duty guy necessarily. Well,
and I think for anybody that enjoys PvE, ArenaNet will continue to amaze them. Really, I really think that.
Yeah, it's absolutely the best PvE game out there, in my opinion. Well, so says the 200 and some odd hours, and the fact that I got to the level cap very early. I might add, 3 days in. I'm gonna hang my hat on that.
Some would argue that that's why you got burned out so fast, Bridger. That you rushed. So
I think,
but you encouraged us. You told us we needed to rush.
With hardcore guilds, though, I think it is easy to get burnt out, especially with things like World v World, because it is quite repetitive. I was saying in email earlier that there's only so much you can do for 800 hours on the same borderland map. So sometimes I think you do have to branch out a little bit and try other parts of the game, try new classes, try new guilds, to just keep it fresh and interesting.
Yeah, actually trying new classes was a little bit interesting, especially when I was doing all the different class episodes and things. I jumped in and played each class until around level 10 or 12 to get a feel for them, and took them in structured PvP to really feel what it's like at 80. The thing for me, though, is sort of what I've known all along, is that what I want out of a game that I'm going to be playing for a long period of time. There's a lot of different reasons that you'd play a game, like if you accidentally hit XSplit and change the view. There's a lot of reasons that you'd play a game. For the narrative, or for the challenge, or for just the experience. Like Portal wasn't necessarily challenging, and it didn't really have much of a narrative, but the experience was amazing, right? So there's experiential, there's challenge, and if I'm going to be playing anything for an extended period of time, I really need that challenge. Is me as a player. I require that challenge. I need some hurdle to overcome, something more to learn. A lot of players really like the social aspect of MMOs, and they get a lot out of working with their friends and hanging out and talking. I mean, there have been times when I've just been on TeamSpeak, hanging out in Lion's Arch, talking to other people about the game and about what ectos are doing. Are they going up? Are they going down? There's a lot of time, like, wasted, quote unquote, doing that people really enjoy. And the problem for me as a gamer is I have that, like, if you had a pie chart of the things that I require out of a game, there's like challenges like 80,000%. So the problem is I bought into ArenaNet's ambition, and they said, we're going to make a game where positioning matters and all these other things, and you get dodge, and to their credit, they've come a hell of a lot closer than any other MMO type game that I've tried. I mean, because I tried all these. I tried EVE Online, and that's actually really fun for a different reason. But then I also played, when D&D Online went free, I was like, well, I guess I'll try it. And then no,
Yeah,
level 2, no, thank you. I tried Lord of the Rings Online. I'm like, that's cool. They've got titles and narratives and stuff, and the quest text gives you directions and doesn't just point an arrow. And I like that. In level 5, I was like, okay, I'm done. So Guild Wars 2 has a combat system that's almost there for me. The dodging and things like that make it much more interesting. But it felt really tedious to go back and play anything in PvE. I just throw down a bunch of AoEs and dodge, and the enemy died. It wasn't feeling very challenging at all. And in World versus
pretty
World,
much true.
in World versus World, it was not a challenge because it wasn't about individual skill. It was about teamwork. At least that's what you'd hope, because in the few instances of World versus World in the early days where we'd have these sort of 20 versus 20 skirmishes, it really felt like your personal skill could make a difference. But when there are so many people that are fighting on both sides that neither side can even see the other, it doesn't feel like your personal skill is affecting anything at all. The personal skill of the person leading and the other people just simply following his simple instructions on where to be and how to move and go through the portal at the right time. But those kinds of things are so simple and easy to do. The actual effect doesn't feel the same as, playing a Counter-Strike match. Like my actual skill in choosing exactly when to run around the corner, throw that grenade, reload, etc. All those things, those timing elements, always feel like I can get better, right? I got to a point in Guild Wars 2 where I didn't feel like I could get better, and then I stopped playing, essentially. So I just went on a weird little Bridger rant there. Sorry, everybody.
I
And you
thought
didn't
the
even play the
combat,
music.
the core combat in Guild Wars 2, I still think is the best out there. Better than some of the MMOs coming out. Like, I'm getting excited about like WildStar and ESO and Camelot and stuff, but I still see Guild Wars 2 as what I hope all of those devs are modeling after. Because actually, the core combat, the idea of dodging and stuff, I think what I liked most about it was it was fluid. It just felt natural. Like no matter what I was doing, it could be the animations, it could be anything. It just felt natural. I mean, remember that this was one of the first MMOs where everything you could do while you're running,
Yep.
you could dodge, you could do all this other stuff. I mean, there's no player clipping, and it just feels good. Now you're right about the challenge, but a lot of the structured PvPers still say that the skill cap in Guild Wars 2 is still way up there as far as individual, ability in structured PvP. It's not so much for those players, the combat or any of that. It's just the organization of ArenaNet. I mean, I don't think I need to go into spectator mode or anything like that.
Yeah, we've buried that horse.
We've beaten that bush. But I do think the combat is still something that no MMO, even the ones coming out, have yet to impress me with. I still would always say Guild Wars 2 has the best combat I've ever touched. Period.
Yeah. Now, Bullet, let me ask you: did you ever play Terra after playing Guild Wars 2?
I never played Terra.
Did anybody else, Yannick, Enzo, did any of you play Terra or try it out in the open beta? Because
I went back to some. I did some other of the free, like World of Warcraft and Star Trek Online, but not Terra.
Because Terra was always like, everybody's talking about it, like, oh, it's this action-oriented one, and you're going to have combos and things you have to juggle. I tried playing Terra after a Guild Wars 2 beta. Like, the first time I'd played Terra, I was like, it was on a free weekend. I was like, well, I better try out, see what the hubbub is about, so I know why I'm dissing it and calling it crap. And so I tried it out. I jumped in as some kind of a spellcaster, and the instant that I tried to cast a spell and it rooted me in place, I'm like, I'm done. Game over. There's no game there.
Well, I had a similar experience with the Elder Scrolls Skyrim. I was big into that, like when Guild Wars came out, and then all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, I can't dodge without being specced into like sneaking, and I can't do that. I don't want to play this game anymore. So
Nah.
it's just the aspect of like, I find myself playing other games. It's like I want to dodge roll, and
Yes.
it's because of this game.
I
And
try to do
the
that.
combat.
I try to do that in League of Legends. Like, why can't I dodge?
Yeah, it's like, why can't I dodge? It's like, it makes sense. But this game, like, just the combat of it, like, there has not been a game that, like, for example, the warrior kick skill. Do you guys know? I don't know if you guys.
I think, yeah.
Freelancer, do you play warrior? Yeah. The kick skill. That every time that connects with somebody and you just see this little Asura guy punt somebody, it like it's just like there's a connection there that, like, I know it's a video game, but it's like I really felt like this little guy just like kicked this guy halfway,
For
across
me,
the screen.
it's the Elementalist Lightning Hammer 4 skill, I believe it is, that just, like, you wind up and freaking golf club them away. It's ridiculous. That's the other thing about the combat. Besides the actual mechanical dodging and things like that, it felt like, unlike in any other game, where, like World of Warcraft, when somebody swings a sword and hits a monster, the monster goes, "Ugh." But in this one, when you swing a sword, the monster's like, "Rah!" Like, it almost looks like they're connecting right. And I was like, yes! So it's very visceral and feels very solid. And now we're just all getting excited about Guild Wars 2 again.
Some of us have always been excited about this.
So the question I have for you guys is, I mean, many of us are still playing, but as far as like structured PvP is concerned, or as far as World v World and these organized guilds that have all left, if you think they restructured it, they added spectator mode, they added tournaments, they added private servers, and all this stuff that everybody wanted, you know, and Marina said they put in, do you think that will bring everybody back? Like, as far as we're talking the more hardcore players, you know, do you think that's what it would take, or do you think it's too late?
I think with structured PvP, maybe a ship has sailed, but I was going to say to Bridger that if he prefers 20v20, maybe when there's a guild v guild feature that comes in, that might be quite good for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are calling for that.
I really think all that's needed to revitalize World versus World, for me, from a, you know, I enjoy this combat, all the things that are going on, the strategy, is if they find a way to make zerging less optimal than traveling around in smaller groups. Like, it should still be possible to travel around in a big group, and it should still be effective, but it shouldn't be as effective as coordinated small groups working, you know, in the right way. Because, like I said, all the times that I've played World versus World, in the matches where it was 80 versus 80, or even 50 versus 50, I felt lost and like, okay, I'll throw an AoE down and hope it hits something because I can't see anything. And even when I can see something, like yesterday, it's slowed down to a crawl, or it's just like, well, I see some numbers coming up, but I'm not doing anything consciously. I'm just hoping the biggest chunk runs through here. But in those smaller fights, I think if they were to do something like that, if they were to add in some mechanic that made smaller groups and organized fighting, then change the metagame, as it were, and allowed us to come up with new strategies and tactics that would work, and provide for some small tactical combat where we can say, okay, we need the Guardian to be in front and these guys back here, and try to form a front line, or some kind of interesting tactics going on that are different from now, I would probably come back to try it out.
So what you need, Bridger, is for Guild Wars 2, when you have two Zergs clashing and you pick out somebody and you have your eye on them, everything stops all of a sudden. Time freezes, everybody forms a circle, and it's you versus that guy.
Everybody starts just...
And you have like the gray scale surrounding you and stuff, and it's just, that's what we need. And that would...
I know I've gone off on this rant before. And it's on the same subject, and we keep coming back to World v World because I guess that's really where we all enjoy, or many of us enjoy playing. And you keep saying that all you can find is the giant Zergs, and yeah, they're out there. But I spend hours in World v World every day, and I'm never running with a big Zerg. If we have over 20 people running with us, then hell, we're going after the garrison, or we're going after a keep. That's all we need.
What server are you in?
I'm on Tarnished Coast. Okay. Coming after you.
You guys are quite zergy, though. I see you guys.
The gauntlet just got thrown down.
I get it, Enzo. I get it, but this is the thing, though. You're avoiding Zergs and you're sneaking around. The point is, if you ever were faced against a Zerg and they have 50 people, and you said you have about 20 or so, right?
Yeah,
what could you do? What could you? Yeah, exactly.
Well,
what could you do? Didn't matter how organized,
isn't it? I mean, if you all have the same amount of like we're all warriors, okay? Well, you have the same weapons, but if it's 20 on 50, like in real life, and I know this is a video game, I mean, you're still gonna get rolled. I mean,
I disagree. I watched 300, sir.
But see, we'll do that too. I mean, we'll do that, and we see someone coming, we'll run back for a tower. We'll start dropping arrow carts, we'll start dropping ballistas, and building up as fast as we can, pull the supply out of the tower, and we'll try and make a stand. Someone's coming after hills. We'll run for the Lord's room, set up a couple ballistas across on the balcony on the far side, and we'll make a stand. And yeah, we'll have guardians up in the front throwing a wall of warding to split the enemy attackers into two groups so we can try and wipe the first one before the second one can get through. And we do run with small groups, and we run strategy. And you say, well, you know, of course, if you're with a group of 80 people, it doesn't really matter what you're doing. That's why I don't run with a group of 80 people. That's why most of the time I'm running around with 5, 10, 15, 20 is as big as we generally get, and that's how we're running. And we'll go off to enemy borderlands to go attack there. We'll set up and defend in our own borderlands. So I think that game is out there. Just because you see all these big zergs doesn't mean that that's the way you have to play World v World.
Yeah, that's true. You don't have to play that way. But the problem that I think Freelancer and I are enumerating is that it's the most optimal way. Because if you take 4 20-man groups and send them out on a Borderlands and pit them against one 80-man Zerg, the 80-man Zerg is going to be way more effective. It can take points way faster and wipe every 20-man Zerg that it comes across like that. It's the timing thing, from what I understand. That's
yeah, Enzo, I'm sure you guys are having a blast, because we did too when we formed smaller groups. That was our thing. We tried the smaller team.
We want it to work.
Yeah, we did, and everybody had a lot of fun doing that. Especially when they built up they saw the Zerg come in, they built up the ballista and stuff. But numerically, we had to think about the server, and for us, the server winning was more important than us having fun. And I know that's just TL's thing, and that's a lot of guilds' things where they think about score. But for us, it was all about score. And in order to most efficiently capture points and defend points and work for your server, you need to be in a larger group that's able to take and flip points faster and also wipe enemy groups faster. And it's just more efficient. It's all about efficiency.
Well, I was in World v World today, and what we're doing is we're watching the timer on the top, and we're saying, okay, we can take this camp, and we can get this other camp, and we can manage to get those both before the tick. That's going to get us, and I don't remember what they're worth, but 15 points a camp, so that's 60-point flip against that other server, and that's with our small group. We see another. They just took a camp, but they took it with 12 minutes left in the tick. They're never going to hold it for 12 minutes. We can go back and get that. So, yeah, we're paying attention to the score too, and it's not. We're doing it because we're having fun, but we're also trying. We're trying to get points for the server. That's why we're on enemy borderlands to distract them.
True. Now, Yannix, I have to take. You
I
like the Zerging?
Yes, I confess. I know that's not popular, but I think Zerging is quite fun. I think also because my guild was a really big Zerg guild, and I find the battles are really epic, especially now you can see the 80 enemies and 80 friendlies. We just all clash into each other. I think it's great fun, and I think it's better to be at the forefront, earning the points for your server instead of being a small group always trying to run away and watching out for the enemy Zerg. So personally, I prefer the Zerg mentality.
I just lost my entire argument to her. So.
All right,
sorry.
So we somehow circled all the way back around to World versus World again. I'm not doing a very good job as a driver of this podcast. So let's see what. We talked a lot about all this stuff here. We just said what'll bring you back. What are your fondest memories? Everybody's got stories. We've talked about we filmed the Dreaming Bay experience that it was. We TL. If you want to know anything about that, I don't need to recap that. Dreaming Bay was our first major TL group conquest. and we had a ton of fun with that. And then we did, for fun, what is it, Beta Weekend number 2, we had the March of the Golems just because, and
Fire in the Sky.
Fire in the Sky and Beta Weekend number 3. We did all kinds of great stuff. But what about you guys? Enzo, what's your fondest memory, like the greatest story that ever happened in Guild Wars 2 for you?
I don't know the greatest. I know we've done fun things too. I think weekly we have the March of the Doliacs, where we go into World v World and people drink Doliac tonics and try to do a complete lap around an enemy borderland as fast as they can. And so you have the Doliacs running with everyone else in costumes, and Mesmer's trying to haste everyone.
Wait a minute. You invented Guild Rush mode? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, no, we didn't. No, and actually I think it started on another server, but the guild that does the Doliac parade moved on to Tarnished Coast. But yeah, that's a weekly event, and those are always fun. And if you can we start at the South Camp and run all the way around to the North Camp and back down and see if anyone transformed as a Doliac can get back alive.
That does actually sound like a fun thing to do. What about you, Yannick? You got any good stories?
I don't remember any specific World v World stories, but I actually have a PvE story. I know, shocking, right? It's my only good PvE memory. It was at 2012, 2013. It was New Year's Eve, and I thought for some reason I had to finish the Zaitan, the Arrow dungeon, because it was really annoying me. It was my final personal story, and it took me about an hour to find this random pug group, and we actually spent New Year's Eve together. We said Happy New Year, because the dungeon took about 2.5 hours, so we thought we'd finish before then, and they were the best pug group ever. We wiped about 30 times. I think anyone else would have rage quit by then, so it was just a really good experience, and we never saw each other again, so that was sort of a one-off for the new year. So yes, good times.
What about you, Bullet? Any great stories, any moments that just made you go, oh, that was fantastic? Doesn't have to be World v World, whatever. What'd you think?
Well, I might take a little heat for this, but I love the Karka event. I said it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I had so much fun during that Karka event. Yes, it was a laggy, broken, crazy mess. But like I was running with another guild that I'm in, Tempest Nox. Shout out to those guys. It was so much fun, like seeing these crazy spider creatures from Mars, like jump up in the air and then like roll over like 200 people.
That's what we need in World versus World. They're the anti-Zerg siege unit.
We need Karka.
Yeah. There you go.
We need 200 supply to build a Karka.
Yeah, it was so much fun. I've never been in like in an event like that before, where there's so many people doing the same thing, and like I'm talking to other people in chat that are on different overflows, and they're like, "Oh man, our server's doing this. Well, our server's doing this. We're ahead of you." It was just so many people online at the same time. Just having a great time. I'll always remember that. It was a broken event, but God, it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun during that thing. So.
I think that particular event is special because it was unique. We can tell that story and be like, it's a story, because nobody else can go and do it right now. Not really.
Citizens. What?
Citizens.
No.
So, yeah, I actually agree with you. If, the sort of final event on the last day, if it hadn't been so long and drawn out, like if it was 1 hour instead of 2 hours, I think it would have been sort of the perfect cap on that whole thing. It would have been great. It was just a little drawn out for me. But other than that, I would not say anything bad about that. I mean, lots of people are like, stupid, blah, 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 until they got their precursor. Then they're like, no, that was a fantastic event. Really.
Hey, so. I didn't get mine from the chest, but I bought it shortly after. So that's, I got my precursor that way, kind of. So I'm not going to complain about that. But yeah, man, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. So
Freelancer, any great stories that we didn't cover here that you can recall?
Mine was actually the community created stuff. Like, when we did the breast cancer awareness, you remember the Pink Day in LA? I got involved with a lot of the community members that, I mean, coming from Aeon and Warhammer and stuff, I had never been too in touch with the Guild Wars 1 community. But they approached me through this podcast, Gwen, or I think it's called Gwen, and that whole organization approached us, Tales of Tyria, and I actually got to organize, and together we did all that stuff for Pink Day in LA. That was like an eye opener for me to see a bunch of people do that. So for me, the biggest memory, I guess I could say, the best moment is the community ran stuff. And it wasn't just that. We did the No Fan Left Behind. You remember that way back when we said, to hell with being hardcore, let's just invite anybody that wants to learn about World v. World. And we had tons of people come online that, you know, weren't necessarily super hardcore or able to play 5 nights a week, but still wanted to learn, you know, builds and structure PvP and all that. And we invited them, you know, basically said, to heck with Team Legacy and tags and stuff, just join us. And it's just going to be a community thing. And we all turned our tags off. We all hung around and talked builds and stuff with people that otherwise would have never had that experience. So for me, it was the community events. And I'll probably remember the Pink Day in LA the best, because that was just a huge zany thing and we had a blast.
I'm pulling Edwin in here if I can actually redo all the everything's. That's gonna be fun. We got to get Edwin in though. Edwin was on the show at least a whole bunch of times. He came in and saved the day when I couldn't get a host on. He was always there to say, "Hey, come on in." So let's see if he can get connected here. But in the meantime, let's see, what else do we have on the list here? We've been talking all kinds of crazy memories about you know, World versus World and stuff. Did you guys, like, when you first played the game? We didn't really talk to you guys when you first played the game. Was there any particular moments when you're first leveling through that you were just like blown away by? Because I remember the first time I got to Straits of Devastation and I was swimming through the water and I was looking down at the ground as a dragon-shaped shadow passed over me, and I was like, holy shit, and I looked up and saw a dragon, and I was like, did they just do that? Did that just happen? I thought those were just skyboxes. Huh? So I don't know, anybody else?
I had exactly the same moment when that shadow went over. I was like, there's something bad. And looked up in hopes that it wasn't coming after me.
All right, there we go. We got Edwin on now. Edwin, what about you? Any favorite moments from Guild Wars 2 that you want to share?
Probably, it was Beta Weekend 1. It was me and 2 other guys, and there was some group event that we had to do. And it was like some giant that, like, you know, it stomped you away to like 1,200. And so all we were doing was the thief was evading constantly. I was shooting a longbow that I had never used. I had no skills on it. And like the elementalist was like trying to do something. I don't remember. It was a mess, and it took us like half an hour to kill it, and we only got copper because it took us so long. I mean, it was a sad event.
Well, if we're going back to beta weekends, did anybody on the first beta weekend go through the char starting area?
I think I don't remember. Yeah.
You would remember the flame.
Oh, the flame shaman! Yeah.
Oh my God, this thing was so overpowered. It was fields of corpses, and we're all level 3 and 4 corpses trying to fight our way through this thing. And even ArenaNet was making jokes about how out of control this thing was.
You just reminded me of that zombie thing they did. You remember that? Where you killed players and turned into
the second beta weekend.
Right. Why can't they do that? Like
yeah. See, I was always hoping that those end events, like the Hunger Game end events or the branded end events, that was just kind of a proof of concept that they could pull off these here for the next 2 hours or the next 4 hours. This map is going to be the branded or whatever. And yeah, I'm still hoping that they'll try something.
Why not make it where you can go to structured PvP and instead of signing up for Arena, sign up for one of those? How awesome would that be?
That'd be great.
Well,
I mean,
I was given the impression somebody said it in Guild Chat a couple months back that, if you keep these special events on all the time, people aren't going to do them. It'll turn into, keg brawl or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And like,
I've
there's like
still yet to
one
go
guy in
keg
there.
brawl.
Oh, it's good. You should do it.
Oh,
It's
I'm so-
underrated.
Just toss the kegs out of it and watch everyone rage at you.
Yeah, I don't think I ever played Keg Brawl. It was one of those things I always said I'll get around to that, and I never did.
Well, there isn't a subscription on this game. You still can.
But
That's
Bridger
the
has
thing.
so many indie games to play and cover.
That's true. He has all those 8-bit 2D games that he has to take care of.
What?
Enzo brings
Oh.
up a very interesting point there. The cool thing about this game is, you can always come back to it, and I think that's something that I think it's an endearing quality and a business model that these guys. I'm sure there were other free-to-play games out there, but like when I was in college, the reason I got into Guild Wars 1 was because I had no money and I couldn't pay, I couldn't pay for a WoW subscription. I couldn't justify paying $15 a month, and $15 may not sound like a lot, but that's what it is. And I really met a lot of people and enjoyed that. So Guild Wars 2, it's that same kind of feeling where it's like, it's always there. So I may bounce around a lot, but it's always there. So I don't know.
Absolutely.
It's good quality always there.
If they have another...
£40. Sorry. I was just going to say, for £40, you get 900 hours of gameplay from it. There's nothing else in the world where you're going to get that much value for your money, and you can always come back in the future. if they add
Except
more
Team Fortress
features.
2, as long as you measure value in hats.
Yeah.
I just did the calculation here. I bought the digital deluxe version, and so far I'm paying just under 8.5 cents an hour for this game.
So let me ask,
bargain.
how much money in gems did you guys buy?
I think I've done
Ooh.
the $25 in gems. So I guess I should add that into my calculation.
Because I don't like to grind, so when I needed cash, like when I needed gold, I was like, I'll just get another $20 in gems.
Oh.
I probably got up
Opposite.
to like...
I'm too cheap to spend money on it, so I take my gold and turn it into gems if I wanted to buy an extra bank slot or something.
I've spent maybe $80 on gems. Maybe a little less.
I'm not sure exactly how much I've spent, but I mean, I've spent enough as far as I'm not breaking the bank or anything like that or buying. For my legendary, I'm not turning gems into gold to buy all my mats because I want to earn it. But it's I don't know, enough to where I feel like, because I still like this game, and I feel like anything that I get, like upgrades or something like that, additional character slots, I bought a couple of those. I feel like I want to give money to ArenaNet. If that does that sound bad?
No, not at all.
No, it's the same reason that I bought
ArenaNet deserves it. They really do.
Yeah.
I would give them money if they would work on the stuff like that I cared about. Because remember a few months, like in December, they made all these big class changes to every class but Ranger. And they said, the Rangers have to have their own update because there's a lot of changes, there's a lot of balancing. We need to fix the pet AI, all this different stuff that they said they were going to fix. No update.
There is a fix, though. Play engineer. I don't know.
No, Edwin, didn't you see in the patch notes it said, Rangers have been fixed because they changed quickness from 100% speed to 50%.
Yeah.
I remember one of our structured PvPers, first couple weeks in the game, made a thread saying the best way to play a warrior is to roll a mesmer.
Because you can still whack things. Actually, that reminds me of something I wanted to say earlier is I had been wishing that Guild Wars 2 would play like a third-person action game, that we'd be able to aim our spells manually. Like, that's something that had sort of went very early when Guild Wars, before we had any real details on it. That's kind of what I had envisioned and hoped for. And then when you have combat mode for, like, that thing that somebody put on Reddit for a while that people have been developing, that is, like, I wish they would make that, like, an actual, like, that. I wish they want to just, like, we're going to do a full interface update, no more auto attacks, like, aim all your stuff. Like, that would be so cool, because that would revitalize the whole combat system to something more to my
And
enjoyment.
you thought thieves were overpowered before.
It's true. It's true. Although,
Also, I have
go ahead.
my actual favorite moment in Guild Wars 2, because she's watching. My best time in Guild Wars 2 is meeting my girlfriend, Kaywin, in chat.
Aww.
I was forced to say it, so it's true.
Tugging at the heartstrings, man.
My
Well, and I was just going to say another thing that popped into my mind about what made Guild Wars 2 different, and a memory I had was my first main on Guild Wars 1 was a ranger. So the first thing I rolled here was a ranger, and I got the bow, and and then all of a sudden I'm like, wait, a great sword? I can melee?
All right,
And
I want.
which opened up the idea of, oh, well, you can range with a warrior, or you can melee with a ranger, or you can swing a sword with a mesmer, and there was a lot more crossover between classes than any other game I had tried.
What?
I can't help but laugh. Sharukin in chat says, why can't rangers use rifles?
Yeah, and why does a ranger have a greatsword, but an engineer can't have a hammer? That makes sense, right?
True.
I'm hammering
Engineers
things.
should have a hammer.
Give me a
Rangers should
hammer.
have hammers. I played Hammer Ranger in Guild Wars 1 for years.
Oh man, that's true. That's not something. But I mean, my wife's been telling me about the fact that the only real viable build for rangers in dungeons. She loves her ranger. She wants to play her ranger, but her friends, her really good friends, are telling her, "Yeah, you can't play dungeons with us anymore if you're gonna roll with your ranger." And she's like, what are you talking about? Like, it's not good. It's holding us back. Our fractals, we can't do higher level fractals because you have a ranger. And she's like, what are you talking about? And now they go and they nerf the only viable dungeon build that rangers had that was based on quickness. She is livid about this patch.
She needs better friends.
Yeah.
They weren't actually telling her, like, you can't, but they're like, could you roll a guardian maybe? That would be great.
You know, the actual trick to a good ranger is pig pet. You gotta
Pig
use a
pet,
pig.
the boar.
You gotta use a pig. I'm being sarcastic. of
Oh,
course,
okay.
No,
Is that
Beta
because the
Weekend-
pig is the worst? I don't know.
I don't know. It's just hilarious.
Beta Weekend,
Rolling around with a
Beta
pig.
Weekend 2, pigs have a knockdown. And in Beta Weekend 2, it was broken. So that when the pig would knock you down, instead of running past you or stopping, it would just keep hitting you for 1,000 damage for like 20 times. And so I would like hit my attack, it would kill the guy, and then I would hit the next guy, and then I would attack a door, kill the door. And like, I was unstoppable because it would do 1,000 damage to a door every hit. It was awesome. They should not have changed that. That was the only good ranger build.
Screw catapults, let's launch pigs at it. Oh man, that is not something I saw coming. Wasn't there in Total War, like medieval Total War, you could unleash like flaming pigs to confuse the elephants? Or maybe that was Rome.
No, I think that was
Rome.
Yeah, there you go. Guild
Well,
Wars
we
2
got,
is
we got
historically
another Rome
accurate.
coming out this year.
Oh, I can't wait for that. We're so talking about that for like 4 episodes of our gaming show. I can't. It's totally going to happen.
You know, but at least you can launch, what is it, rotted cows
That's true.
with a trebuchet?
If only it actually did anything useful.
Wow.
Like, I want it to land in a courtyard and, like, kill everybody.
But it's a great image.
It is.
Give them points for that.
If you saw our Fire in the Sky thing we did, we launched like 25 cows at the same time through the air. It was great.
All right. I'll pull it up here. Sound dash strategy. Wait a minute. I don't even know how to get to my own website. There we go. So it actually was great when we told everybody, okay, we're changing over to fire. Everybody go to fire. There's one cow flying through the air with all of the fireballs. That was
Did you
pretty
have
epic.
Journey as the soundtrack in the background?
No, but that would have been great.
You could still remix the video and edit it.
Let me see. There it is. There it is. Let's watch. This is short. This is great. I gotta pull up the.
What could you do?
Not the droid commercial. That's not what I want to pull up. Gosh. Stupid droid. You can't get extra. No, they're not gonna get an extra 100 views just because I'm streaming this. That's not cool. All right. It's not gonna happen. All right, let me see if
While,
I
you,
can.
while you're doing that, can I mention one thing about the new patch?
Yeah.
The titles that they put in under people's names. How do so many people have the Gwam, the God walking amongst mere mortals thing? Like I don't
Apparently
remember.
it wasn't as hard as everyone thought it was.
Were there that many people that I was missing in Guild Wars 1, or are they all in Stormbluff Isle? Because they're like, it's ridiculous. They're all over the place, and they're making me feel guilty about not doing anything. Like, I should have got the Universal Slacker title in Guild Wars 1, because I didn't even have, like, a max title at all, and I played for, like, 3,500 hours. So
I got 31 Hall of Monument points, and that was good for me.
There you go. What you had to get 30 in order to get all the main things, right?
yeah,
That's
30.
why I got 31.
Just to one up all those people.
No, actually, the last one I got gave me 2 points, so I was just there.
There you go. All right, I think I pulled this up here. This is right. I never did anything with this. Number 3. Now I reset it by clicking. Why did I click? Oh no, I've ruined everything. I'm gonna have to reload the whole page. All right, well, back to near you. There it is. That's not it at all. There it is. Team Legacy presents Fire in the Sky. Coming soon to a YouTube near you. How many was that? That was like 20.
I can make it.
Oh man, we had fun with that.
That's amazing.
Some random cow. Random cow. Oh, those were good times. Those were good times. Oh,
We'll have more of this.
I'm sure we will. There's plenty of those things. I mean, we're having those kinds of moments exploring in games like Guns of Icarus, where you're just doing crazy stuff. Not stuff that's designed by the game, but just like, okay, let's try putting all flamethrowers on our thing and just go and flame in every direction. Oh, man. So... I guess there's a lot of stuff out there. Edwin and Free and I are kind of moving on to other games, but we all have sort of other games that we're looking forward to. The ones being spoken about in Team Legacy the most are Elder Scrolls Online and WildStar. Let me ask you, Enzo, are you looking forward to either of those? You're still playing Guild Wars 2, but are you looking forward to those as a potential replacement months down the road?
I'm really not looking towards any other games. I mean, I'm really pretty content in Guild Wars 2, and I tend to be rather monogamous with my gaming.
That's an interesting way of
That's an
putting
interesting
it.
way of
So I
wording it.
guess we're all cheating then, is what you're saying. We're all
Yeah.
cheating whore bastards.
Well, not in so many words, but yeah.
All right, what about you, Yanix or Bullet? Are you guys looking forward to any other MMOs?
Yeah,
Maybe-
beta for ESO definitely. Although I've heard it might not be as good as everyone's hoping for, but I'll have to see for myself.
What about you, Bullet? Are you looking for anything? Camelot Unchained, maybe?
Not any other MMOs. As far as I feel a little bad because I haven't been catching up on a lot of like up and coming like regular games, I guess console stuff and everything. But I'm going to be playing a lot of Guild Wars 2, and I'm getting married in like 2 weeks, so I don't even know if I'll be able to
Congrats,
play
man.
that anymore.
Oh, hey, congrats.
So,
Puzzle
so
time.
actually not 2 weeks now. It's like 9 days, so not this weekend, but next weekend.
Oh.
But anyway,
Oh
yeah.
my
So
God,
it's
he's
it's
lost
coming
count
up.
already.
Yeah, I've lost count already. So time doesn't matter. So I don't even know if I'll be able to play Guild Wars 2 anymore. So that's up to her, right? Now I'm just,
Oh, dear.
Game over.
Oh.
So, but
Da,
no.
na, 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 na. That should be like as people walk out, like, yep,
Yeah.
game over.
So, I still play a lot of Guild Wars, and then TF2. Like I can't get away from that game. I know it's like 20 years old now, but like I just
It's
I can't
still
stop.
so much ridiculous. We
It's
need to bring
so
back
much
TF2 night at least once a month with TL, because TF2 is just so ridiculously fun. And I don't play it enough. I've only played it like 250 hours. Need more. Need more hours.
Well, find me on Steam, and we'll do a little backstabbing action.
I love playing Spy. I just can't play well. I love playing Spy against noobs, because then I feel like a god. That is the best, really. All right, Edwin, what about you? You're looking forward to ESO?
I'm looking forward to ESO mainly because of the guild. I'm not really a Elder Scrolls, fan or anything, so I don't really know too much about the lore. Unlike Guild Wars 2, episode 14, if you want to know about my lore history.
Oh yeah, that was the first episode with us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a great episode. I love that. Now I want to go back and listen to all my old shows like a maniac. Anyway, so let's talk briefly. I don't think was anybody else at PAX East besides me.
I wasn't.
All right, Bridger's going to be talking for the next 10 minutes. No, I know. I know that. No, Enzo. I have been told that I put people to sleep, but I didn't think just the thought. Okay, so I did go to PAX. PAX was great. If you've never been to a PAX before, just fucking go. Like, make a great vacation out of it. Take a whole week off. Get there. PAXs are the best things ever. But I did get to play around with Elder Scrolls Online, and I know that a lot of our listeners are probably going to be looking to that game. They want to hear about it. I am reserving judgment. I don't want to make a false call because I really only did get to play for the 15 minutes they let you on there for a level 6 character in a PvE zone. So I got to do like two little quests and play around with the combat just a little bit. In my experience, it does not feel as polished as Guild Wars 2 felt at this time of year last year when we were playing Beta Weekend 1. Because if you recall, even with some lag issues, I believe, on Beta Weekend 1 at the very beginning, the game felt really solid and polished and everything felt... This one feels a little incomplete. Partly because the voice acting, which is supposed to be all fully voiced, was actually, the quest text was being read by like a Microsoft Sam equivalent. So when you go over to the thing, it's like, my soul is now trapped in the haunted house. You must help me get it back, or something ridiculous. So that kind of added to the low production quality. But they weren't letting anybody in there with cameras. They're taking down all the footage because they know that it's incomplete at this point. But as far as the mechanics of it, I didn't see dodge listed on any of the buttons, but it's possible. People say that there is dodge in there. Maybe the double tap, and I didn't try the double tap. I should have tried the double tap, but I kept trying to hit shift. I'm in Guild Wars 2 mode trying to hit shift, and I did play around with the blocking and things, and you can't interrupt spellcasters, so that's kind of an interesting dynamic. They have this whole, you attack with a light attack, a power attack, or a block, or an interrupt. Those are like all the different kind of combat things you can do with just a sword, not to mention your normal hotkeys of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they get that Elder Scrolls kind of thing going on. But I did feel that even the fast attack looked really slow. Like, if you've seen like SCA or people wielding real swords doing like a sword fighting demonstration and you watch it, it is fast. And to watch my character like do this slow wind up for even the fast attack, he'd be like, "Rah." And then for the slow attack, he'd be like, "Rah," pull it way behind his head and like batters up, like slams. It just looked so ridiculous that maybe that's a placeholder animation. I don't know. But again, it looked like they were doing the telegraphing with the players' animations too, in addition to the other things. Whereas in Guild Wars 2, when a warrior swings a sword, like when Twilight goes flying through the air, you don't see the sword. You see like where the sword used to be flying through the air. It feels very fast and visceral when you trigger an ability. So triggering abilities did feel pretty fast. And lastly, I was kind of disappointed that unlike Guild Wars 1 and 2, if somebody fires a ranged attack at you, moving left and right won't dodge. At least the monster that I was fighting had a homing attack, some kind of a spell that would follow me no matter where I went. I did not get to check whether it would be blocked by terrain like trees and things like that. But that was kind of disappointing, because I'm used to being able to, like, I want to move out of the way. I don't have to spend my dodge. I just need to go a little bit to the side here, and maybe that'll do it. So that was my experience. Like I said, I'm reserving my judgment.
Ranger weapons in Guild Wars 2 are blocked by nothing. Like, they just shoot and they're obstructed. Like,
they are blocked by nothing's there, and they are blocked. You
Yeah,
don't mean,
exactly.
I see what you're saying. All right, go ahead, Free.
So let me ask, out of you got, I mean, I know how you are and just how detailed you look at different things. What would be your pick of packs? What would be your best of show?
That's a good question. I avoid it. When I go to PAX, I usually don't spend a lot of time standing in lines and trying things, especially the things that I can play at home. Like Hawken was there. I was like, I've played Hawken. I have it on my desktop. I can go play it. So I'm not going to even... Actually, no, that's not true. I went to the Hawken booth specifically to ask the guy, so, this is a free-to-play game, right? And he's like, yeah. He's like, so... Is this one of those free-to-play games where if I buy everything, it costs like $50, or if I buy everything, it costs like $150? And he's like, you're gonna have to look for that guy in the leather hat. He'd probably be able to answer that question.
Don't ask that to the League of Legends guys.
Yeah.
They'll tell you like $600.
Yeah, it'll be more like $600. I think we had that conversation the other day.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm willing to cut some slack on League of Legends because it's been out for so long and they've been adding content after content for 3 years. So they've got like the equivalent of expansions on there. So okay, fine, whatever. But this is a game that's still in beta and just coming out now. And I just want to know, will I spend $150 if I want to buy the full game? And I just found out recently that Hi-Rez is now selling Tribes Ascend, the complete package, all mechanical things unlocked for $30. They learned their lesson when people got pissed about the prices of weapons because they had that issue where it was like $100 or $150 to buy all the weapons and classes unlocked, and people left the game in droves. And now it's like, okay, $30, you can have the whole game. There you go. And I was so happy to hear that. I might actually try playing Tribes again. But anyway, what is the standout game of the show? That's a good question. I think WildStar is the most buzzed game between all the people that I spoke with that were there. Everybody has something to say about WildStar. It is an upcoming MMO with a cartoonish style similar to World of Warcraft, but with more action-oriented combat, maybe even than Guild Wars 2, but very similar to Guild Wars 2. It's got a dodge with a dodge bar, and when you use an attack, it'll actually, I don't know if it's just a tutorial, but it'll show a little cone of where that attack will affect. Either a cone or maybe it's just a small cylinder in front of you, or a log cylinder if it's like a lightning strike down a corridor kind of a thing. So it kind of shows you the area of effect that's about to happen. So when you click on the cylinder on like an ability, very briefly on the ground will flash the AoE so that you can see it and aim it, and then it'll happen. So it's like, press the button, there it is, boom. So it's in that 1/2 a second that you can see and aim the shot just before it's fired. And it seemed like that has a lot of potential. Again, that I only played for a very short period of time as well. But the other people that I was with were staring at the demos and going, oh, you can build your own house? I'm sold. And that was interesting. But it's also got a very interesting take on it. And apparently it's going to have PvP elements and a lot of stuff going on there. So a lot of TL people are keeping an eye on that as well as Elder Scrolls
if it
Online.
has any sort of competitive guild versus guild, we'll probably be looking at it.
Yeah. We'll definitely take a look at that.
And then we can get more excited about it. But until then.
And I know that there were a lot of other games out there that people were really looking forward to. The Last of Us, the PS3 game that's coming out, that I didn't stop to play because I don't have a PS3. So if I got really excited about it, I'd be out like $400 or whatever it costs now. So I didn't want to get excited about that game. But I know a lot of people were happy about that. Neverwinter Nights Online. I walked by that booth a couple of times and sort of looked at what was going on there because that was the other big MMO that was showing off. And they had a beta weekend on the same weekend. Like, everybody's talking about, like, here, you can have a key to get in the beta this weekend. Like, you mean today. I'm going to spend PAX hours playing your beta. Well, at least I don't have to stand in line, I guess.
That's the D&D one, isn't it? Isn't it? It's based on the D&D universe. That's what I thought.
It looked a lot like a World of Warcraft style clone, but I didn't look too close. But based on the interface and the way that people were interacting, it definitely looked like a traditional hotkey MMO. And I didn't see anything that made it really stand out, but take that with a grain of salt. Then I spent most of the time in the tabletop area, played I played a Yomi tournament and failed miserably, I'm sad to say. Actually, no, not miserably. I came very close to getting $30 free Game Salute money.
You know what we need to do with all the community and the viewers is have a big Risk game online.
That would be cool.
You're
And
talking to
take
somebody
seven.
That's something
who
we ought to
played.
do.
You're talking to somebody who played Axis and Allies when I was like 8.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I-
Axis and Allies is
do that
awesome.
too.
It's just Risk is easier for most people to pick up than Axis and Allies.
That's why I hate it. I need something more. I don't want to. The Ukraine is weak. I don't need that anymore. I've had those jokes.
I get Australia.
Nobody let him have Australia. Oh man. But there's so many better games than Risk these days. I mean, Game of Thrones is amazing as far as we're talking about a dudes on a map game, right? That's our word for it. We use that genre when we play board games. When we say, "You want to play a dudes on a map game today?" Yeah, we can play a dudes on a map
that
game.
before. I like that.
Yeah.
I have no
So-
friends to play with anymore, so I just play Civ 5.
There you go.
So-
Civ 5 is great. Civ 5 had an expansion coming out. That's one thing. I was very surprised by the size of the 2K games booth. Like 2K is a massive PC publisher, right? Actually, no, they have games everywhere. They do console games too, don't they? And they had one small booth with like a single bench, 2 monitors, and guys on loudspeakers, you know, talking about the new Civ expansion or whatever they were showing off at any given moment. And it was just this very tiny booth. And the Riot booth was massive. And all the other booths, End of Us had this huge booth. World of Warcraft guys, the Blizzard guys were showing off a collectible online card game called World of Warcraft Hearthstone that,
Hearthstone,
funny
yeah.
enough, looked kind of
No.
intriguing, but it looks like a money sink, and I don't want to touch it. So I'll stay away from that. The way the guy explained it, though, it sounded like a Magic type system, but a little bit twisted this way and that made it sound like it might have been fun. I don't know, Bullet, did you had a question? I ran over that and I forgot.
Yeah, it was just when you were talking about ESO. One thing about that game, I don't really care about the Elder Scrolls universe, but I've played, Morrowind. What was the fourth one? It's eluding me.
Oblivion.
What was it? Oblivion, yeah. And then I played a lot of Skyrim, and the thing I love about those games is that they are a horrible broken mess, and is now and just like the fact that it being an MMO, they're going to want to try to balance it and fix bugs and all that stuff. That's the primary reason why I won't play it. I want my Elder Scrolls broken, self-contained, and just mods everywhere.
So you enjoyed Skyrim when you could make basically infinite boosts to your smithing skill by making potions of smithing, which then you could use to make gauntlets of potion making, which you then use to make even stronger potions of smithing.
Exactly. If you can't do that, then it's not fun.
And how are you going to put your nude patch in ESO? I don't understand.
It's client, but it has to be client side, I guess.
Client side. That's true. Yeah, but that's the other thing is the guys that actually made Oblivion and Skyrim might be working with ZeniMax, but I'm pretty sure ZeniMax mostly is making this on their own, right? They're the development studio. It's not Bethesda, the developers. It's Bethesda, the publishing house, that's working on the actual game. I'm assuming that Bethesda, the developers, have been the ones pumping out the Skyrim content.
We'll see.
I don't know. Somebody in the chat probably correct me and say, no, they're all working on it. I don't
No,
know
I
why.
believe you're correct on that.
Okay. So, I guess that's about that. Just done there. So, I think that's it for me. Anybody want to make any final mentions on Guild Wars 2 or any final words? It's not actually over, but I like I said, I might come back to it. I assume.
I waited 7 years for it. Or 6.5, 7 years from when Guild Wars 1 finally announced it with, with Heart of the Earth, Eye of the North, until it came out. I was so excited. They promised so much. And they did deliver on a lot. The PvE is pretty fun. But Guild Wars 1 had so many amazing PvP, systems. They had, the arenas that you could do. There was Heroes Ascent, the Guild versus Guild. And then Guild Wars 2, I remember they said we don't want to release our PvP stuff too early because then they'll think it's a PvP game where we want to be able to branch out. But I honestly think they just didn't want to say that they weren't paying much attention to it because really they have not done much of any of what they said they wanted to do at PvP.
very
And
ambitious that didn't, it's
disheartening.
yeah. We could rename ArenaNet like Icarus, as far as the PvP is concerned. It was so ambitious, and that's what got me interested. Warhammer Online was the same way, wasn't it? It was very ambitious project that didn't reach up to its ambitions, and I think Guild Wars 2 actually met and exceeded its ambitions as far as the PvE is concerned. And when these patches come out on a monthly basis, I might jump back in the game just to play the PvE stuff, because it is pretty fun. Like you said, we talked about the Karka event and all that stuff. So
Yeah, Arctic.
I don't think Guild Wars 2 to this very moment, to this very minute, is bad in any way. I just think that as far as those that spent so many ungodly hours doing PvP, you do the same thing for so long and you're going to get burned out. And that's kind of what happened to a lot of people in TL. The PvE is still exciting. I mean, for many people. Some argue there's no real end game, but all of my friends and stuff are still logging in, trying to do quests and fractals and stuff. There's nothing wrong with it. I just think for anybody that takes a break and comes back, if they've switched things up a bit, they're going to find it exciting again. Guild Wars 2 has amazing combat. It's just as far as the more hardcore, the guys that played a lot, and especially the structured PvPers, there does come a time, we all love ArenaNet, but there does come a time when you say it's a little too late, and I think with the at least tournaments are concerned, and esports, and I know we don't like to bring up that word, but esports in general, there were a lot of players looking into that and getting excited for it. I was one of them. I managed a team that was amazing, and they were among the top, and we had money and sponsors and everything, and it just kind of all fell apart. And that wasn't just TL, and TL certainly wasn't the only good group or guild out there, and same with World v. World. There's much better. We're not the best, and we won't ever be. But the scene, as far as the organization of the scene, could have done so much more, and I think it's come to the point where if you're going to play Guild Wars 2 casually and have a good time with your friends and stuff, it's going to meet your expectations 110% over. But if you're looking to do it in a hardcore sense and make a name for yourself, whether it's for your guild or individually in structured PvP, I think that time's already come and passed, and that's just kind of my thoughts on it.
No, I'm feeling the same way basically, and the other thing that kind of occurred to me is I wrote that article back when Guild Wars 2 was coming out, and everybody's like, "No end game, what is going on?" And I wrote an article that I believe, actually, I can pull it up on the website here. And get the actual title for you, but it was basically about how there isn't any way for games to actually follow through on never-ending content. So many people expect MMOs to simply be something they can play for thousands of hours over multiple years.
But I got to interject on that. Here's the thing about that, Bridger, and this is why I disagree with you. Developers don't need to continually make new content. If they provide the tools for the players to create the content, such as spectator mode, private servers, tournament functionality to begin with, revolving World v. World maps, something new and fresh that just slightly changes it, the community will make the game. And that's where I think, where ArenaNet sort of skipped a beat. And they didn't provide those tools and stuff, because if they had simply released half the things they had talked about releasing, starting with spectator mode, starting with the ability for companies like Curse to come in and create tournaments, they wouldn't have to continually add new structured PvP maps as often as they do now. The community is very good at creating their own fun and exciting scene, but you have to give them the tools to do it and the ability to do it.
That's true. All right, so I guess with that we will we'll close out the show for the final time. And I know that a lot of people are going to be very disappointed. And you know what? Maybe on our general gaming show, we'll jump back into Guild Wars 2 for an episode and talk about it and say, here's what's changed, here's what we like, here's what we don't like, etc., etc.
This is how much we're still playing.
This is how much we're still playing. Yeah, but I mean, I'm still going to keep in touch and browse the Guild Wars 2 subreddit every once in a while just to see what's going on, because damn, it's got such a good base.
And
You know?
and that's one of the things I wanted to say before we signed off and said farewell and Godspeed was, Bullet's going to be around. I'm certainly not going anywhere for a while. Yeah, if you want to take a couple months off or half a year off, you're playing other games, you come back and check it out. Look us up. Maybe we can do a reunion show. I don't know.
I've been known to do that. It's Company of Heroes I burned out on from 2006 to 2008, and I stopped that show, and then I came back for a few more shows, and then I came back for another entire season in 2011. So it's certainly not out of the question. So we'll keep an eye on it. The Tales of Tyria website, I think, is paid all the way through at least October, so that website's gonna be there, and any updates that I have will go there. And also on the Sound Strategy Network site. If any Tales of Tyria related content does come up, we'll put it on the YouTube channel there, the Sound Strategy YouTube, and the TalesOfTyria.com, and this Twitch channel. So stay subscribed to the Twitch channel, and if you see it pop up, you'll know there's some Guild Wars 2 type content. But otherwise, everything that I do is going to be on the Bridger 15 channel and TeamLegacy.net. We're going to be having a lot of community events there, where it's just like all you have to do to be part of the Team Legacy community is sign up for the forums and join us on TeamSpeak. We're a community now, and we've been a community for a while where you don't have to be a part of the guild to be part of the community.
No. Not about that anymore.
We do all kinds of games. We have so much fun playing tons of different games. We've been playing Guns of Icarus recently. We're playing Soldat in a few minutes. So let's get to that. Why don't we? Everybody's waiting. All right. So let's send it out on the right note. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye, guys.
And may Dwayna be with you. Fear not, rise up. All right,
What
so
does this song have to do with Guild Wars 2?
what are you talking about? That is the
Someone
Guild Wars-
who's never done finished their personal story.
That is the credits theme when you finish the
Oh,
personal
really?
story. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
I've
It's
never
also
finished
on the
any-
soundtrack. It was written by Rhys Osby, all the lyrics. It's about Guild Wars 2.
Wait, how about the commercial they did? That official commercial that had nothing to do with the game?
They buried that so fast.
They did.
They made no sense. Like, I don't know how they even ever thought, let's give it a try.
I thought
No.
Guild Wars was about flooding your house and then swimming.
My favorite comment was, hey, Guild Wars 2 must be doing so well that they made an ad for Secret World.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
But that's what it looked like. It's like,
Yeah.
we're a bunch of gangsters on the street.
Well,
We're
there
gonna
was a
tag this
guy-
wall and then fight monsters.
There was a guy that's like, he had his hood up and he took it down and then he wrote like with spray paint on the wall, and he was like, it said like, what was their phrase there?
Remember?
Rise up or something?
Yeah, it was horrible.
Googling it.
It was so bad.
Oh, it was so bad. That we missed that moment. That
Yeah, but
moment.
the thing is, like, they missed a perfect opportunity to like rag on the Secret World. I'm like, because that's what I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah.
It's like, oh snap, here we go. Wait a minute, no, that's just weird. And
Secret World was kind of cool. It just the combat was still the old-fashioned combat, and that's really what kills me. I have to stand still while I'm making an attack. What the hell is this?
Well, because World of Warcraft was
That's it.
originally sort of, when it came out, MMOs were too obscure and like there was a huge barrier to entry to most MMOs. Like EverQuest was the biggest one, but it was still tiny compared to what World of Warcraft became. World of Warcraft said, let's put an interface on it that's actually able to be understood, and let's make sure the gameplay isn't super complicated at the very beginning, and so people were able, I just go 2, and then I go 3, and the thing dies. Yeah, I'm awesome! And it brought a whole ton of people that had not played games before into gaming. So to its credit, that's what, it was great at that. But it wasn't great at providing a challenge to people who had played a lot of games before and wanted some kind of high skill ceiling. I mean, PvP in WoW was actually fairly good for a while. There's a lot of stuff you could do with that, but because they did have some maneuverability and things going on there. But a lot of people were just stuck on that. I punch numbers in a particular order, or when this thing happens, then I'll punch my other number.
Hey, Bridger. Guild Wars 2 just announced that you can get more than 30% off a copy of Guild Wars 2 right now.
Oh, man.
Yeah, they announced that they're having another sale.
There you go. All right, so... What is that? I think we lost Bullet. Or is Edwin going for something? What's going on? Nothing's going on. Okay. So right now, what we're going to do for the Team Legacy community is sort of run a dry run of our Soldat event this Saturday. Go to soldat.pl if you guys want to be involved in it. I'm actually going to stream it here on the Tales of Tyria channel, and I'll try to stream it on the Bridger 15 channel. I think I have enough bandwidth to do both of them simultaneously. It's not a very high-quality game, so I don't have to have a lot of bandwidth for it. So it's from forever ago, but trust me, getting on a voice chat with this game is some of the best fun you can possibly have. You guys want to join us?
I'm actually going to duck out because it's 9 o'clock and I haven't had dinner yet.
Oh, jeez, yeah, that's a good time.
I'm going to go eat some dinner.
That might be important. Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming and helping me out when our old hosts, they burnt out earlier than even we did. And thank you and all you guys, Yanix and Bullet, and we had Bulleye on there for a little bit, and Friar Tuck. Thanks to all of you guys for helping me out, because I was like,
it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
And really look us up. You come back and try out Guild Wars in a month or two. I mean, just shoot me a line whenever.
Enzo, what do you say? Like, you try to hop on the other podcasts and give your thoughts on things.
Which other podcast?
The one we're going to be launching in the near future.
I'm just not playing that many other games, really, so I'm not going to have much to say about it.
Well, we don't talk about just games, though. We talk about all the big news out there, all the controversial stuff, like the SimCity fiasco, stuff like that.
I can talk about other stuff, but yeah, I mean, if you're going after specific games, I don't know that I'll have a lot to add, but general social topics, sure.
And I mean, there's other things. I mean, what we do here after the show is a lot of times talk about things that don't even have anything to do with games. We'll talk about movies or comics or,
Doctor Who.
Doctor Who.
Basically, it's going to be a nerd discussion show for nerds, and that's what it's about.
I think I'm actually
going to do a Doctor Who podcast.
I mean,
for it.
let me not sugarcoat it. That's what it's going to be. It'll be a giant nerd fest for podcast nerd fest. Is what it's
Can you talk
do
about
nerd.
Magic the Gathering? Because I've recently gotten into that, and that's so nerdy. So please talk about that.
Nerdy.
I'll have to discuss my
Bridger.
hatred.
Sign her up.
I'll have to discuss my hatred for it because piloting is a thing. But what I want to do actually is kind of create two shows. One which is going to be much more structured and is probably going to be the same three people over and over again, which is going to be a very specific. It's going to be the main general gaming show, and then another one that's going to be like general gaming after hours, which is going to be just like what we're doing now, which is just like nerding out about whatever we want to talk about. Like, okay, everybody bring 3 things that you've been doing this week. That's awesome. It's been like Doctor Who, reading Batman comics, playing whatever game, and we'll just crazy talk about it. I mean, that's a show that we can just do every Friday night.
That sounds like hella fun. I mean, like that. There's just so much awesome stuff out there.
Also, bring your cat. Apparently, why do you have a cat?
See, our chat room is speaking out. Obviously, we need to talk about Magic the Gathering.
Yay!
And
yeah, Yanix can be there for the Magic the Gathering show.
Yeah, you don't want me to talk about Magic the Gathering because I'll tell you why I think it's a bad game. But that's
Platinum Angel for the win.
Here we go. And then we could talk about that new Blizzard card game.
Oh, I could talk so much about tabletop games. It's ridiculous. I need to get other people on here, too, because I need to get my friend Josh and I used to play tons of tabletop games. He had a podcast for a while, too, and it's called Fatcast because, oh, man, I could go into for this detail for this for hours. See, this website called BoardGameGeek.com had this split between the Ameritrash gamers and the Euro gamers, and they started. There was a big social conflict. So the Ameritrash gamers, they went and formed their own website called Fortress Ameritrash, and they don't like the Euro gamers. They make fun of them. The Euro gamers don't like being made fun of, and they don't like being offended. So they ban the people. It's great.
So there were board game wars online?
Sort of. To some degree. Within a single community, yes.
Did you ever play Diplomacy?
Yes. My wife hates that game now, after having played it with me.
Now, is that a board game, or is that like online?
Diplomacy is an old board game, which
like
is...
Risk without dice.
It is Risk without dice, but it's more a negotiation politics game. If you do not like wheeling and dealing with people, you will not like Diplomacy, because here's how the game works. Everybody takes 15 minutes to talk to whoever they want. They can drag people aside and say, "Hey, Germany, come over here for a second." It's a World War I Napoleonic type era game where you have Germany, Austria, Russia, Turkey, Italy, France, and Great Britain. So it's like, "Hey, Germany, come over here. I want to talk to you." And you can talk and say whatever you want and say, "Let's gang up on Russia," or "Let's do this." And then after everybody spends 15 minutes talking, or if everybody ends sooner finished, they write the orders for all of their armies down on a piece of paper. And then we take all of the pieces of paper simultaneously and resolve the orders. And you could have been like, "Hey, Germany, let's attack Russia together. Like, you go here, I'll support you, and we'll be able to kill him." And the reason you have to talk with other people is because you almost can't do anything by yourself. Your army versus another army, they just bounce off each other. But if you can get another army to support you, then you can actually get some headway.
Okay.
So you have to work together to get anywhere, but then you have to stab each other on the back because your ally will get too strong. So it's this weird thing where you have to like go and say, "Let's go off and attack against Russia." While Germany's off with Italy talking about something else, you go to Russia and say, "Hey, Russia, Germany's trying to get me to talk, like going after you. Like this isn't cool, man. Do you want me to help you with this? I'll help you if you let me have this province here next to Turkey." You know, so you have it's crazy.
Or you wait until somebody backstabs someone else, and then you can go to the victim and go, "Yeah, man, they screwed me over like 3 turns ago," and it's just constant. Backstab someone before they backstab you, or time it out so that you can work with another victim and double backstab the other person. It's just
like Munchkin. Like Munchkin.
I read a really cool post that somebody who's a teacher, and I want to go to whatever school this is, because they had a whole block of learning for like a month on rhetoric and logic. And that is something I haven't seen taught in school, but it really needs to be taught in school. And the way that they taught rhetoric, which is, persuasive oratory, like this is important in business. Like, business is wheeling and dealing. This is a skill you will probably need in your lifetime, even if you just want to negotiate for a good car price at the local dealership. And so they have this rhetoric block, and the teacher's like, what better way to teach rhetoric than to have these kids play diplomacy? So he grouped each of them up into teams and gave the cycle was an entire day. So, at lunchtime each day, they would submit their turns, and then throughout the rest of the school day and the beginning of the next school day, every time between bells, they would all go off to each other and be like, "Come on, you gotta help us with this. Our team is gonna be the winner. Germany's going to be ascendant, but Russia needs to get in on this." And it was so good, because afterwards he would have them write a big essay like, what techniques did you use to persuade people, and what rhetoric that you studied in our previous block did you use? And it was so cool to read this giant thing and see games utilized in that way. This wasn't a game designed for that. It was just used that way because that's a skill that they wanted to teach. It's fantastic.
Indeed.
I think it's time to do Soldat, right?
It's time to do Soldat. I could go on forever about board games.
I'm taking off too. I got to go take an exam. So.
All right,
Bridger,
see you later, Bullet.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
We will keep you guys in touch. We'll probably do these after-hour shows, and you guys are all welcome on them. You two, Edwin and Kai and everybody else who couldn't be here. Aku and Great, we got to have those guys back on too for these after-hour shows. I might just make that a regular Friday thing, so we can just nerd out about everything.
Just let me know. Great makes freelancer picks show.
Great versus Freelancer show?
No, do you remember when Great used to make all those images free?
Oh, he forgot. Hang on.
Me and Vega still have to have that epic debate that he keeps running away from. You know?
Which one was this? Okay, because there were so many.
Bridger, you know where to find me.
Absolutely.
We'll see you around.
See you guys.
Take care.
Bye.
All right, here we go. I found it. There we go. Does that?
Yeah.
There. Okay, we got that one.
The Scrooge.
And then we got, that's Dreaming Bay. And then never forget the 4 trebuchets on Dreaming Bay. And our structured PvP team. Some say it wasn't worth it. We say for Dreaming Bay. Another Dreaming Bay one. There's our March of the Golems thing. That's good times. Good times. Oh, man.
Oh, my God.
All
My
right, so...
favorite-
Sorry, go ahead.
I think the best moment for Tales of Tyria for me was it was an episode I was watching. I wasn't in it, but it was when you did that speed round for everybody, and you were doing it on Vega, and you're like, your favorite city is like New York City, and you're like, no in game, and you're like
That's
what
right.
race? And you're like, oh, I'm glad I didn't ask you that first.
Yeah, I forgot. I should have done more of those, but I got caught up in doing all the news and stuff, and I was like, I don't have time for this. So anyway. Let's get this set up. I'm gonna get off of Skype and we'll all get. Yannick, are you gonna be able to join us for Soldad, or is it too late over there?
It's 1 a.m. so Twitch
Yeah,
bars.
I'm sorry, I knew that. But listen, we'll keep in touch, like I just said.
Yeah,
I'll send you
thank
emails
you.
about that. Alrighty.
Okay, cool. All right, see
Yeah.
you. Bye.
Have
See
a
you
good one.
guys.
All right, so Free and Edwin, let's hop on TeamSpeak and organize it through there. And Free's going to set up the server, and we'll give out the IP to everybody on TeamSpeak there, and we'll throw it in the chat room, too, if we can get some people to come on. But TeamSpeak's going to get priority because we want people to hang out with us in TeamSpeak, all right? We'll put it there. And everybody else is welcome to join as long as there's room in the server. I think Free's server is probably going to be able to hold at least 32 players. I have to imagine.
It will.
And we'll be streaming it, too, if you just want to watch. We'll be streaming it here. So I'm just going to put the logo up for a second and play some music for you while we get this set up, and then we'll see you guys in a little bit. So stay tuned. 5 minutes, no more.